Hey folks, good evening. So, if you haven't heard, Tales of the Valiant is actually making, or shouldn't say making, but they're doing their Kickstarter for the Player's Guide to. I can't move it up without my face being in the way, but there you go. Right? I'll make this a little smaller. Derp, there. Player's Guide 2. So, we're coming out with the next Player's Guide for Tales of the Valiant. So, what I want to do is, in case you're stumbling on this video and don't even know what Tales of the Valiant it is and why do I care, right? So I want to just give a brief history of Tales of the Valiant, why I think it is where it is today, and where I think it's going with this book. At least my 2 cents, right? So what is Tales of the Valiant? Well, if you're a D&D player, then you know that D&D came out with its new version of the rules, right? Um, I would say it is 5.5e. Wizards of the Coast is trying really hard not to call it a new point version because, sales reasons, right? But the reality of it is they changed enough of the system and the rules and the spells and so forth that to me, it's basically a version of 5.5, the next version up, right? A half version up, whatever you want to call it, right? It's not like a tweak like it was for, like, say, Tasha's and so forth, right? So, Tales of the Valiant. So when they did that, or came out with that, or was coming out with that, for a lot of other political reasons, so I won't get into here. A lot of other companies started coming out with their own version of rules of various systems, right? Whether it's Stag or Hard or what have you, right? So Tales of the Valiant, what Tales of the Valiant is, it is their version of 5e. So, if you want to play word association or whatever you want to call it, right? 5e is to, or Tales of the Valiant is to 5e what Pathfinder is for 3.5e, if you have any D&D history. So basically what Cobalt Press did is they kept all the 5e rules for combat and how things generally work, but they threw out the character classes and all the abilities that go with it, feats or talents, whatever you want to call them, and redid it all. And in my opinion, they did a better job than Wizards of the Coast did with their classes, right? Not that Wizards is unplayable and they have some good ideas and some good stuff in there, but if you're looking for at least this one man's opinion overall, Tales of the Valiant did a better job in revamping the subclasses and classes and so forth. So that's where we are, right? So when they came out with the first player's guide and so forth with Tales of the Valiant, I think of it as Tales of the Valiant Phase 1, for what it's worth. So what does that mean? In my opinion, their goal for Cobalt Press was to try and to keep as much as the 5e as they could. So really, if you want to look at Tales of the Valiant with a critical eye, the first book is like everything they can keep from 5e legally and put it into their new system. And that's what it is, right? The spells, the rules are basically the same. Uh, the subclasses and classes are revamped differently, right? But with that being said, because of that, there are things that are missing in Tales of the Valiant that you had in 5e because they couldn't be pulled over. This book is the phase 2 of Tales of the Valiant, whereas everything points to this book being Tales of the Valiant going off in its own direction and doing the next step and coming up with content that is just totally different than 5e. I'm sure some of it will be 5e inspired, maybe even some 5.5e inspired. Who knows, right? Well, I guess it really can't do that legally, but whatever. You know what I mean, right? A lot of things that you see in these things are similar, if not different, across all the different things. But the bottom line is they're going off in their own direction, making their own subclasses. So one thing when you looked, and let's get into this here, let's start doing some scrolling. right? So what are we getting in this book now that's going to split us off in our own direction, right? One is you're getting three new base classes, right? So you're getting the Thurge, the Witch, and Vanguard, right? Now, if you're a fan of Cobalt Press or delved into any of their books, Thurge and Witch has been published before for Cobalt Press, right? From what they said, I wasn't at the um, kickoff meeting, whatever you want to call it, that they had before the Kickstarter started. But the question I understand was asked: is this Thurge and Witch going to be different than the one you published 2 years ago for Deep Magic? And the answer came back as yes, which is great, right? Um, I own Deep Magic, so I can have my Deep Magic version of these classes, and I'll end up having the TOV version of these classes. No big deal. I'm glad they're going to take the rules and bend them in a different direction and come up with different versions of this. I'll have both, right? If you're going to ask me, I think everything points to the Witch being the first Wyrd full caster, right? Just like in the 2024 rules, they took the spells and divided them up in different groups. You have your arcane group, you have your divine group, you have your primordial group, and you have your Wyrd group of spells. And then the caster gets one of those groups to pick from, right? So the Witch is going to be the first probably Wyrd caster. I would bet significant money on it. We will see. Um, Somebody will be. It's not going to be the Vanguard. So it's one of the other two. And yeah, I don't think it's that hard to reach to say it's going to be the Witch. But put a pin in that. I really want to talk about Wyrd spells later on in this. So I'm glad we're getting one, but we'll come back to that. So you're going to get Thurge in Deep Magic. He was a dual caster. He could cast both Arcane and Divine, and had some other abilities as well. We'll see how that's still how much they're going to tweak that in the new book. But I'm glad to be having him. He'll be have some interesting abilities, I'm sure. Vanguard. This is like the Battle Master from 5e. Is what I'm guessing. Uh, I don't know if the MCDM name of this similar class is also Vanguard. I actually sponsored the MCDM, but I haven't been playtesting as much, and I can't remember the name of the class, and I didn't look it up before this video. But basically, he's you're a fighter who directs the battlefield, right? And inspires people to fight, probably a little bit more than his own fighting ability. But that's his gig, and we're going to get those three classes in here. To me, the really big news is we're getting 48 new subclasses, right? The original player's guide only had 24. We're getting an additional 48. You're going to have triple the subclasses when this book is out in January. And it's going to be pretty much all new material going off in Cobalt Press's own direction, right? So to me, that's really exciting. We're going to get some more spells as well. So again, with the spells, Cobalt Press wasn't legally allowed to pull all the spells from 5e into TOV. That's okay. There's some there I really don't miss that was probably overpowered that are no longer here. So no big deal. Well, a little big deal. I appreciate having the volume, but now we're getting additional 150, right? And again, put a pin in that. We're going to talk about that when we talk about Wyrd casting later on in this. You got a bunch of expanded rules because Cobalt Press loves to come up with all kinds of different ways to give your group, various twists, right? Whether that's in their downtime rules. Now we're getting base building. Um, they think of all kinds of things over there, and it's always good stuff. So let's dive into this a little bit more, right? And again, this is a very limited document, so I'm not going to read through the whole document. I'm just going to kind of breeze through this a bit. I will have the link to the Kickstarter and the link to this document in the description. So if you want to read more from what they give you here, go get it and support the Kickstarter. At least, yeah. If you like Cobalt Press or even this like good material, you got to get into the books that these guys create. That's all I got to say. So it looks like generally speaking, we're getting 3 new subclasses per class, right? So you're getting, first of all, you're getting new heroic and epic boons. Yay. They said they'd be coming out someday. Looks like they're on the menu, boys. And then we got all the other subclasses coming up. The Kraken subclass for Barbarian actually has a preview in this document. I was glad to see that a Kraken Barbarian was not going to be worthless if he wasn't near water, right? It looks like it would work wherever he is, which is great. Um, I don't need someone like Aquaman that if you're not near, because how many water adventures do you truly have? I mean, you could have a water campaign and then it would be really useful, but you don't get too many water campaigns. So I'm glad he's useful outside of that. We'll get some new stuff with Bard. That will be interesting. I'm still getting used to Bard being a full arcane spellcaster. Um, but hey, I'm glad to see it. Cleric, got some interesting ones here. We're going to have a Tempest domain. Tempest is one that was in 5e. I love that domain. I think it was the only name I saw here that was like straight out of 5e. But glad to see it. I enjoyed my Tempest domain cleric a lot when I played 5e. Death domain, nature domain. It'd be interesting what's the difference between nature and a druid. So, that could be interesting. You got some druid subclasses here. Um, Starheart might be interesting. That could be a twist. Looks like again, if you're going to have Vanguard as a class, I'll be interested to see what the difference is between Commander for a fighter and a Vanguard class. Um, Feels could be similar, but I'm sure they'll come up with a unique twist with it. Start Archer could be interesting as well. Nice to see an Archer that maybe isn't just a Ranger. Mechanist getting some new subclasses. Toy Maker is definitely a nod to the character in Critical Role, right, in season 3. The one that Travis played. I didn't follow season 3 as much as I did season 2. Love season 2. Season 3 was okay. I couldn't stay with it, but yeah, you got to figure that's a nod to that character in Critical Role. Um, Monk, okay, a monk will be interesting to see their subclasses. I think some of the monk subclasses could use a little bit more umph compared to PG1, so that will be interesting to see. Um, you've got your paladin, you got your witch. I'm almost going to come back to that one. Um, Wizard, yeah, necromancer and summoner could be really cool. I'm going to be really curious to see what the archivist comes out to be. I did play test that one. It feels more role play than it does combat-y, but maybe they made some tweaks to that. I'm sure they did. Um, Arrow binder for ranger. Okay, sure, why not? They love arrows. Rogue. I haven't seen many rogues. People seem to shy away with them. That could just be me, but maybe some subclasses there will get people's thoughts going. At least in my table for rogues. Some more options for sorcerer. You got your Thurge. Source spinner will be interesting. Sure. Vanguard. Warlock. Definitely some more stuff in here that will be fun to see. Then you got your lineage and heritage. A number of these names won't be too hard to figure out. Some of these I'm not sure what the heck they are. We'll see. One of them is like a frog. I don't know what some of these other ones are. So, sure, be interesting to see. Some more expanded lineages. options as well as variant lineages for is it Duergard, right, the Dark Dwarf, as well as I always say it's Drow, not Dro, but it's just me, and the Sea Elf, so that could be interesting as well. Stretch goal, we gotta make that stretch goal. Um, Heritage, yeah, and I see we got some more water stuff in here with Islander, Oceanic, and Water Side. Sure. Um, so yeah, we'll get some more interesting heritages in there. Backgrounds and talents. Chronicler, Date, Gravedigger. Yeah, some interesting stuff there for sure. Um, some more equipment and magic items, fun stuff. You're going to get some magical tattoos. People always love the tattoos. Um, Spellcasting. Let's talk about spellcasting. Time to unpin that pin because I want to give my 2 cents on spellcasting. So, me, I am a wizard main. I'm not happy if I'm not casting spells, and I better be a full spellcaster, right? So, I do a lot of wizards. Um, Occasionally, I'll drive off into, a cleric or druid. Druid's not me. Sorcerer, maybe. I've tried it a few times. But I want all the spells. That's just who I am. Got to get them all, right? So, one of the things that really I jumped into when they came out with the new Tales of the Valiant book was see how the spells were split up between the 4 different groups. So you have your arcane, your divine, your primordial, and your weird. So arcane, everyone can think of arcane, and when you compare that to divine, I would say those 2 groups are the most mutually exclusive groups to the 2 different types of spell casters that you can have. And I look because at Wizard, when you get to a certain level, you can pick another group. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm getting Arcane as a Wizard. Like, what would be my other group? The obvious one would be Divine, right? Cast those cleric spells. So, but what about the other 2? If I was a Wizard, would I ever take Primordial? And, if I would to squint, I probably could, right? Because there are some spells that are unique to Primordial, but definitely not on the same scale as, say, what the clerics have, right? And then I looked at Wyrd, and I could very easily pull up Foundry and go through this, but I don't know why I'd ever pick Wyrd. It's nice that they're coming up with a Wyrd spellcaster. Everybody wants one, but if you really dive into it, most of the spells that are Wyrd are also arcane. There are very, very few unique Wyrd spells. Most of them fall in arcane. The ones that don't fall in divine. So again, if I was a wizard and I took divine, I'm going to get most of the Wyrd spells anyway, right? So, thanks for the Wyrd full caster, but dang it, I don't care if that's a stretch goal. We need more Wyrd spells, right? We need to understand unique Wyrd spells. I want to see them, right? There's no sense giving me a Wyrd spellcaster and not have a bunch of new unique Wyrd spells, right? I don't need a 80% wizard. That's just my opinion, right? As a wizard main who would like to see a more unique spellcaster. So, yeah, put on your thinking cap, Cobalt Press. For what it's worth, I guess I challenge you. Come up with unique spells. To be honest, Primordial could use some fleshing out as well. But I can think of some good unique, Primordial spells. The Wyrd ones, man, it's hard just to find a unique Wyrd spell. So let's get that stretch goal. And out of those 100 spells and 50 rituals, I hope there is a lot more Wyrd in your spells. To be honest, I have a series of videos where I converted all of Deep Magic books 1 and 2 that Cobalt Press did for 5e, and converted them to the Tales of the Valiant. And as part of that, uh, I used No One's list of spells. He's a user on Discord who hangs out a lot in Cobalt Press's Discord server, who went through all of the spells in Deep Magic, 1,000 spells, right, between the two books. Figured out which ones he thought were over or underpowered, and the ones that he thought were good enough to put in his campaign. He figured out which group of the four or groups they should be in. Even the work that he did, and trust me, I agree with most of what he did. Like, he did an awesome job. The Wyrd, there's not unique Wyrd spells. They're in the arcane as well, or they're in divine, or they're in both. But where's your uniqueness? Like, I can come up with, like, I need more Wyrd. I need it there, right? And to be honest, like I said, Primordial could be fleshed out as well. Like, but Wyrd really, really needs it. It's hard for me to picture the a Wyrd spellcaster not just being a junior arcane caster. That's at least one wizard main's opinion. So please, 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 for the umpteenth time, more Wyrd. I need more Wyrd. Okay. So you got some rules for expanding the base building, which you can look at, and you're going to have some more downtime activities, yada yada yada. I'm not going to read through this whole document. I will have the links, like I said, in the description. I'll breeze through it real quick. This is already 20 minutes long. You can read. You don't need me to read, this. And this could all change anyway between now and the time they publish it. But Vanguard, D12, so he has a lot of hit points. He has his starting equipment. I love looking at the stuff for this because this is clearly the knight from Black Flag whenever they have their Black Flag banner back when they first came out with this new system. He's the Black Flag dude. It's just funny. Wink, nick, nudge, nudge, say no more. Right. So, you have the abilities, they show up to level 3, and the subclasses they show a little more in this document, right? I love that for this war banner, the two banner effects you can have is Banner of Mercy or Black Flag. I mean, just right in your face. I love it. And it goes into some of the detail. So you could actually playtest this a bit if you wanted to for low levels, right? Yada yada yada. And it's pushing 1 a.m. So I'm too tired to read all this. Maybe I'll go through this after I read it if I don't see any good videos, someone going over this in gory detail. Maybe that will be a follow-up video later. But yeah, here is the whoops, boop, down here. Here's the Kraken subclass, like I said earlier, right? I'm glad to see that this dude has use outside of water, so it looks like he has these spectral Kraken arms, which does stuff, which is kind of cool. So yeah, okay, excuse me. I'm sorry, I was just kind of reflecting back for a second. It reminds me of another subclass in 5e, but I couldn't put a name on it offhand. Maybe I'll look it up later. But at any rate, yep, you got some good features here. Oh, that's kind of cool here. You can do like a black cloud, inky black cloud to obscure yourself. That's kind of fun. You have your Tempest domain. Love the Tempest domain. I think it was a little overpowered in 5e, or maybe my cleric was just that cool. I'm gonna be really interested to play this, just to see the difference between this and my old divine from Tempest domain guy from before. Monk. So this is something I really want to read through later because I think Monk. Well, I think that TOV did a better overall with their subclasses and classes than Wizards did. I think the monk just could use a little bit bump in power, so I'm going to be curious to see if these subclasses give it a little more umph. I could be wrong in that assessment. To be honest, I just have someone now playing their first monk in my group, so maybe I'll change my mind. That's just from reading what other people wrote, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what this guy. I love this picture here with the, kind of like looking like the thing here with his elemental thing like arms, kind of cool. And you got your water ones. It's kind of leafing through this. So here's your lineage preview. They show you the elemental scion, and they also show you the frog dude. Um, Again, just my 2 cents, right? This one, this lineage, and the other lineages both have dark vision. If there's one thing I like about Tales of the Valiant is that unlike Wizards, they don't give out dark vision like candy, right? But these two lineages actually do have dark vision. So I don't. We'll see what the other ones come up with, but please don't give dark vision to everyone. Please, I swear to God, maybe it's just me, right? But my groups, it's just like I have so many people was like if their lineage does not have dark vision, they won't want to pick it. So the least amount of dark vision that is out there in the world, the happier I am. Because eventually people will be forced to play something that doesn't have dark vision. Sorry. But he does, and then we have this frog dude here. He also has dark vision. And I will tell you, I did look up to see if frogs actually have that level of cool vision, and they do. So they are being true to the lineage or race or animal or whatever. But please, just stop it there. Please stop. I don't want everyone to have dark vision. It's just it it just makes it harder for the suspense for the dungeon. Or I'm just gonna build like freaking big dungeons, which to be honest I do have the time anyway. Here's your base building, so you can read up on all this. It'll be interesting to see how this all works out. But you got your starter base, and yeah, cool. Uh, Upgrading a base, so they got all kinds of crazy rules here that they're starting to come up with, which is awesome. You got your goblin doing goblin stuff, and that's probably pretty close to the end here. Yep. So if you're new to Tales of the Valiant, I strongly suggest you take another look at it. And it's getting to be quickly upon con season. So if a con near you is showing Tales of the Valiant, kick the tires. I think that you'll like what you see here, and I'm really, really excited in the direction that this book is looking to go. Right? It's really going to flesh this out in another direction. And of course, if I mean, we're going from 24 subclasses to basically what 72 subclasses, and then if you didn't have deep magic, uh, that Kickstarter was like right before Tales of the Valiant was released ish. If you convert that, you've got another 60. By the time this is done in January, between all those books, I'm going to have well probably over 130 subclasses. I'm going to have so many subclasses. I'm not going to know what to do with them all, and neither is my group. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see this because this is really going to really, really flesh out the choices for Tales of the Valiant rules straight up. Um, with that, I hope to see you or you see me in a video soon. Have a good night, and go support this book. Later, all.